Hello and welcome to the Film Focus Online podcast. Would you believe it? We're coming up to halfway through 2025 and with a big summer of movies ahead, we're reflecting on the year so far in our mid-year review. I'm your host, Elliot and joining me is Film Focus Online writer and host of our brand new podcast series, The Film Vault, it's Alex Gilson. How are we doing?
I'm alright, thank you. How are you?
Yes, very well, very well. I can't believe we're already into June. Where's this year gone?
I hate it. I hate it with a fiery passion. It's crazy. I don't understand.
So, up to this point, how do you think the movie year has sort of gone?
I don't know. It's weird. It's a weird one because I think if we were looking at the picture generally, it seems to have not been too bad. But like personally, I think I've been a bit lack with it. I've not watched as many as I thought I would have done by this point in the year, to be honest.
I feel like there's been some few really big ups and quite a few downs.
Yeah, you can definitely say that. I kind of agree on that in terms of like there seems to have been more very like obvious like downs this year than there has been in previous years.
And not as many highs as well, I don't think. I think we've only had a few sort of big standout films this year so far.
Agreed. Yeah.
Which is a shame, but big summer coming up, next few months is looking stacked, and hopefully that changes. So we're going to start then with a bit more of a high note, and we're going to have a look at some successes of the year. And you're going to start us off with a film that came out in the UK in January with The Brutalist. So do you want to tell us what you liked and what you thought about The Brutalist?
Yeah, absolutely. The UK curse persists in the fact that any award season film that comes out in America in a timely fashion, we have to wait months and months and months for, obviously. And The Brutalist was no different. And I think what made it even worse when it came to The Brutalist is the fact that literally everyone and their auntie and uncle were saying that it was like the best film they'd ever seen. And and these arguments kind of came with like, there is no hyperbole in my opinion. Like, this is genuinely a masterpiece. So I think like when it came round time for like it releasing in the UK and me finally like getting to watch it, I was a bit worried because I think you always get a bit worried when everybody says that a film is like the second coming of Christ and is very kind of like overwhelmingly positive about it. Not that like being positive about a film is bad, but like to the extent with The Brutalist, I was like, oh no, what if I watch this and it's the worst thing I've ever seen?
There was such a big surrounding about it being that good. But yeah, I can understand where you're coming from, especially if you sort of like a very Oscar-worthy movie and they pushed it for the Oscars, obviously. But yeah, I can see where your worries were there.
But yeah, but I remember watching it and I made sure to go and watch it in a cinema that had very comfy seats. So I was in a recliner seat for it, and it was like perfect little cozy screen, nothing too major, just a nice little thing. There's only a couple of other people in there, and I just remember watching it and it starting and just being completely transfixed, like from the moment it began to the moment that the interval happened, and I was just like blown away. I mean, I remember like the interval starting and the scene, literally just prior to the interval starting it took my breath away. Like it feels so. I mean, The Brutalist is about an architect a Jewish architect who moves to America to essentially kind of build a new life for him and his family. And he gets kind of scooped up by this kind of big American mogul who is played by Guy Pearce. I remembered his name. Who is absolutely on top form in this film. Absolutely incredible. Awful character, but really, really incredible performance. And yeah, so he gets kind of cooped up by this mogul who essentially tasks him to build this kind of like town, essentially, that is like kind of a tribute to his wife. And it has this like big kind of central building in the middle that kind of brings it all together. And that's kind of what the film is about. And this scene before the interval, it kind of comes where the preparations are beginning. He's kind of talking through, he's made like little scale models of the thing that he's going to partake in building. And there's just this sense of like, just, I don't like, there's just such a weight to that kind of sequence that like this man who we have spent like the last hour and a half kind of getting to know and learning how he operates and how he ticks, and that he is like embarking on not just like the biggest job of his life, but like an odyssey within himself as well. And it's just like the weight of that and just the filmmaking techniques around it is just absolutely incredible. And then the second half, I know that some people say that they don't like the second half as much as the first half, but I think I like to try and judge it as a whole. And I do think that it keeps that kind of consistency up towards the end. And there is one specific scene, and it comes like quite towards the end of the movie. I mean, there's a moment at the end that is kind of like an epilogue, but the moment before this is one of the most haunting scenes I've seen in a film in a very, very, very long time. It is Felicity Jones and her character, who is the partner, the wife of Adrian Brody's character, who's the protagonist, going to confront Guy Pearce's character, and is just, Felicity Jones is absolutely incredible in that scene. She's amazing, amazing, amazing. And you, again, because the film has kind of thrown so much at you, it really has, like everything in the kitchen sink, that moment is just felt on a level that I wasn't sure was possible, really. And it's just so amazing. It's just incredible. It's probably will go down for me as one of the best like film scenes of the year, if not the decade. It's incredible.
I mean, it critically acclaimed. It's 93% on Rotten Tomatoes with 321 reviews, and I mean, you don't see that many reviews on a film that often. But even the audience score, 80% for a film that's 3.5 hours long.
Yeah.
To retain an audience attention for that long, it's got to be something special. Won 3 Oscars.
Yes.
Is it right?
Did.
Yeah.
Not Best Picture though, which I was very sad about.
Yeah.
But yeah.
But yeah, so I mean, The Brutalist, one of the best bits of cinema I've seen so far this year. Then I'm going to move us away a little bit, and for a success for me this season, after 14 years of this franchise not being a thing, dead in the water completely, we recently had the release of Final Destination Bloodlines. This franchise is very well known amongst horror fans. It's got a typical sort of plot line. You get a premonition, these group of people have to then evade death, and I didn't feel like there was much more they could do with it, to be honest. I rewatched all the Final Destinations before watching this. Better than others, let's just say, and I was pleasantly surprised with this one. I felt like they brought some new creative deaths, which Final Destination is really well known for, obviously. It's brought to the franchise a sort of new lease of life. I think it took it a little bit in a different direction to the other 5 films that we've had up to this point. And do you know what? I've not seen audience react in the cinema like they did for a little while. There was cheers and jeers and screams, and it was a really fun time at the cinema, and I think it's one of my most enjoyable cinema experiences this year for definite, just because of the reaction and the film itself. I think it's very, very creative. So yeah, that was sort of one of my successes of the year. It's something I didn't think they'd be able to bring it back after such a long time. After no one's ever thought of a Final Destination movie really since 2011. No one's wanted another one, but I think they did really well with this one. And I think audience members enjoyed it and enjoyed the return of these creative deaths. So yeah, that was one of my successes. You haven't seen Final Destination Bloodlines, have you?
Haven't. I have to confess, the Final Destination films freak me out. And I've literally only just in the past couple of years warmed to watching Saw.
Hmm.
But the way you described Bloodlines is kind of similar to I've kind of seen how people are describing Saw X, because
Yeah,
I haven't seen all of the Saw films. I think I've seen the first three altogether.
yeah,
But then I did watch Saw X, and I think I heard a lot of people saying that was kind of like very refreshing, especially coming
yeah,
after I think Spiral, or was it called, or something that
yeah.
people didn't really
Spiral
like.
wasn't.
Yeah, so it seems that the horror franchises are back and they're thriving, which I do love. I am
I think
a big fan of. I mean, I don't really love horror as a genre generally, but I like to see that it is kind of in the forefront of the conversation. It's
I
good to
think
see.
it's in a good place at the minute. Horror. I think
Yeah,
we're gonna talk about a movie a little later on, but I think horror in itself is, it's doing well at the box office, which it never really used to. It struggled at the box office a lot, and I think now horror is in a pretty good place for cinema.
yeah. I
Um,
think we have. I mean, there are probably lots of people to kind of to thank for that, but I think Jordan Peele is a big part of why people are kind of flocking a bit more to horror films these days.
oh yeah, most definitely, because he sort of, with the likes of Get Out and Us, he sort of created a new genre of horror, really, that I think
Yeah.
brought more faces to the genre, which is great.
Oh,
I personally have only really just started getting into horror probably within the past 3 or 4 years. For that, wouldn't go near it. I've always gory films, Final Destinations, The Saws, stuff like that. The gory films I'd watch every day of the week, but the paranormal side of things I would never touch. But now it's become a bit more mainstream, and I tend to dabble in it a little bit more, which is good.
yeah, I was quite similar, but I was kind of very blanketly against all kinds of horror. Like, I think the most kind of horror centric film I'd watched before like 2019 was maybe Shaun of the Dead or something, and that was like a push for me. That scene where David gets dragged out of the window still haunts my nightmares. It's crazy. No, but yeah. So and then I watched Midsummer, the
Hmm.
Ari Aster film, and then that was kind of like where the ticket changed for me a little bit.
Do you know what? I think that's one of the sort of first sort of horror films that I went into knowing that it wasn't overly horrified kind of. I haven't visited Hereditary because I've heard that's a little more scary, but um Midsummer was one of my first that I sort of dipped my toe in first, and I enjoyed that. So then I carried on with, I suppose.
Yeah,
So another horror then that we're going to talk about as a big success, and probably the biggest success of the year so far, and that is Ryan Coogler's Sinners.
yeah.
What did you think of Sinners?
Oh, I mean, it, I mean, I'm not even gonna mince my words. It is currently my top film of the year.
Same as me.
1000%. Just loved this film. I love Ryan Coogler just in general. Anyway, I think he's a very, very, very talented person. Can make very, very good films. But I don't know. There was just something about this that was like operating on another level. I don't know whether it was like I mean, the cast is incredible. I mean, Michael B. Jordan is great, and Wunmi Masaku, and a few of the other people. Haley Steinfeld is quite good in it, even though she's not in it for much. What's the main villain? What's he called? Jacko? Is it Jack
Jack
O'Connell?
O'Connell.
Jack O'Connell, incredible. I mean, there is just like I don't know. It just it's such a rich film. It is just so it's just got such a depth to it beyond the fact that it's like this like incredibly constructed film that is like a really genuinely brilliant horror film that I don't know, it's just the story that it tells and the fact as well that like it's very kind of I mean it's mostly set in one location
Yeah.
after the setup happens. You know, they're at the bar for most of the film and
Mhm.
the fact that the consistency of the film like stays at a really high level
Mhm.
whilst they're literally in that one place is just so incredible to me. But yeah, I adore it. I
Yeah.
think it's absolutely just such a brilliant film, and has possibly one of the most ethereal, satisfying scenes in it that that has been in a film for a very long time.
I really liked the way that it was it was a slow start, but I enjoyed that because the world felt lived in. The characters, you got to know each and every character. When you eventually then get to them in the barn at the end, you want them all to survive. You don't want them to succumb to this vampire horror that they're about to go through. And visually, it was amazing the whole way through. Like you said, I'm guessing you're talking about the music scene.
Absolutely, yeah.
Like just the balls on Ryan Coogler to throw that scene in the middle of his film
Hmm.
is incredible. Like I don't think you'll get many directors taking a swing like that because I think that could have gone one or two ways. That kind of
Yeah,
scene,
definitely.
especially for general audiences, they might look at it in multitudes of different ways. I'm not sure that slow going pace would be to everyone's taste, but for me, as like you said, it's my top film of the year so far, and I think it's going to be very difficult to beat.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there is. I don't think it'll drop many spaces
No,
if it does at all. But yeah, no, that I mean that scene you could talk about it for days and days. It's just so beautifully crafted, and again, like it comes at a time where like I suppose the action hasn't quite ramped up yet,
no,
and we've had, like you said, this build up, and it feels like this moment where everything that we've seen is being considered on the screen, and it also feels quite like an omen of what's to come as well.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I just it's just so, like I said, it's just so rich, like thematically, and just yeah, it's just so bold, and it's such a big swing, but it just works
Definitely.
amazingly.
Definitely. So sticking on Sinners, then we might as well talk about him while we're here. But sort of breakout star of that is Miles Canton, who
Yes,
played Sammy, the main focus. Am I right in saying it's his first role, first feature
first
role?
credit, yeah,
Which
yeah,
watching this, you'd think the kid had been acting for 20 odd years, 20 plus
it's
years.
mad.
He's throughout. He is mesmerizing. Where it's him singing when that big scene comes along, and I
Yeah,
think it just draws you into the film the whole way through. He's up against Michael B. Jordan, who's one of the biggest actors out there at the minute, and he stands his ground, he stands his own, and he competes with the best, which is amazing to see, and I can't wait to see what he's doing next. I don't know if he's got anything in the pipeline or not.
I am not sure. I can check.
I mean, I imagine he's being offered things left, right, and centre
I wouldn't
after
doubt it. Yeah.
after this. Anything you want to say on Canton's performance?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, just so it's just amazing, and the kind of I think that the chemistry that he has with Michael B. Jordan, or Michael B. Jordan squared, is just amazing. I mean, the chemistry he kind of has with everybody, like
Hmm.
I can't remember the character's name off the top of my head. I think is she called Pearline, maybe?
Yes,
Just the chemistry that he has with her as well, like he just works so well in kind of whatever dynamic is thrown at him in the film. And again, you kind of mentioned his singing, but just that kind of broad talent that is just, you can't teach that. Like it's just such a natural thing, that is just so, it's like lightning in a bottle, I think. And yeah, he's just incredible. And I look quite like you. I'd be very excited to see what he does next.
absolutely. So, I'm going to move on to some disappointments now. From when I first saw the trailer for The Monkey, and the fact that it was from Osgood Perkins, the director of Longlegs,
Yeah.
which I wasn't as positive as most on, but I could recognize what he was doing there. And when I saw the trailer for the monkey, I thought this is a bit of me. It's a bit like Final Destination, really, in the Saw films and films like that. And I came out of it feeling very underwhelmed. I don't know if you've seen it.
I have, yeah.
Felt like it all sort of built up and ended with a bit of a damp squid.
Yeah,
It's the only
I
way I can describe it.
I can kind of see it. I didn't really know what to expect. I knew that it was a Stephen King thing.
Hmm.
And then, his stories are generally a bit strange. And I haven't seen Longlegs. I unfortunately admit that.
Right.
So I wasn't like kind of aware of Osgood Perkins
Hmm.
in general. But obviously all the kind of plaudits I'd heard about Longlegs, I was kind of like, oh well, we're in safe hands.
I think that's what built it up for me, and I think I went in
Yeah.
with too higher expectations. It's not that I
Mm.
disliked it;
Yeah, I mean
it
I
just
did.
was a bit.
But it wasn't anything to like bang on about, I
No.
don't think. I thought that again, like if you're kind of looking at it from a creative standpoint, the kind of the deaths and the increasingly absurd ways that they occur was interesting to see. And the story works on a level that's kind of like, battling with fate and kind of seeing if, you can break that and how it affects you and that kind of thing. And then kind of I suppose like generational trauma kind of comes into it as
Hmm.
well, with Theo James's son, and kind of being worried that he's going to kind of pass this curse onto him, and I find that quite interesting. And I mean, we've obviously spoken about two films now where one actor plays two different characters, and I must say I loved weird Theo James. I thought that like
Oh, really?
the brother who was a bit kind of off the beaten track, so to speak, was very interesting. And yeah, I think overall it was a bit of a meh for
It's just a
me.
come and gone. This guy that obviously had big success with his previous first feature. It's always I always want to look forward to the next film, and
Yeah,
like I said, Longlegs. I wasn't as high on it as a lot of people, but you know, you there are a lot of people that were. So his next film, to me, I was thinking, well, this one's going to click for me, and it was just a little bit of a disappointment, really. What about disappointments for you so far?
well, I think Lilo and Stitch it has to be for
Oh,
me.
that's a shame.
Yeah, because I think you really you
I,
liked it, didn't you?
I did enjoy it. Yeah.
I have spoken about this at length with friends and other people, and I think I'm just a bit sick of these live action remakes at this point. I think we've gotten to a point now where the snake is eating its own tail and it's finally just devoured itself. I wasn't excited because I'm never excited for any of these films because only maybe two of them have been good out of the plethora of ones that they've made. And I mean,
I don't think it helps that I force you to go and see these Disney live action films.
I reviewed one that we're going to mention as well
Yeah.
in a little bit, and that was also awful. But I had a glimmer of hope because of Dean Fleischer Camp, who directed Marcel the Shell with Shoes On, which is
Hmm.
a genuinely heartwarming, beautiful film about kind of the I suppose the power of family that is where the central character is a little CGI little dude. And I mean, you could say the same thing about Lilo and Stitch. But there is one that is just leagues above. And obviously I don't think I blame him for it necessarily. I do feel as though when it comes to these films and the kind of the context societal context of which they are being made in has made it so their messages and their themes and their impacts are kind of being watered down a little
Yeah.
bit,
No, yeah, I get that.
that it just did not work for me. I mean, I adore the animated Lilo and Stitch. I grew up on it. It was possibly my most rewatched VHS film as a kid, and I love the series. I love Stitch the movie, where all the other experiments come in, and the one that's like specifically like a New Yorker that really likes
Hmm.
like specific like New York deli sandwiches or whatever. But yeah, so like I'm a huge fan, and I also love the kind of found family element to it. And yeah, and then so the live action for me just took that and took what is such like a and I don't even think for me this is from like a nostalgic viewpoint. I mean, it is a little bit, it always will be, but I just feel like it misunderstands the point of the
Right.
original movie.
Okay.
And I get that like you have to change things, but
Mm.
because obviously otherwise you're just making the same film. But don't make changes that literally change the ethos of the original movie. I mean,
Okay.
are we okay to talk spoilers or
Yeah, yeah, go for it. Go for it.
I absolutely just was so shocked that they made Jumba the villain of the film. I mean, I watched the original Lilo and Stitch after it, and the kind of the resolution to him kind of being a bit of a menace is a very quick thing. Like he just at 1 minute is trying to catch Stitch, and the next minute is like, okay, I'll help you, I don't mind.
Hmm.
But there is like a point to his redemption in the film, in the original film. And the fact
Hmm.
that they just made him irredeemable in the live action really annoyed me. And Zach Galifianakis' voice was just really weird. It like really threw me off.
I almost think that was potentially a forced change due to the live action constraints. I don't feel like they could have brought in. I know lots of people are upset that Gantu isn't in it, and that character wouldn't work in live action. That's the issue.
I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I feel like if they wanted to actually spend the money on it, they probably could have made it work.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then I just feel like again, it comes back to that idea of it all just being watered down. I mean, you've
Hmm.
got Cobra Bubbles, who is now just fully a CIA agent instead of being the um the adoption
Social
agency,
worker.
the social worker. Yeah, that I could not think of the word for some reason. You've then also got the crescendo of the film where Nani gives Lilo up essentially to move to the mainland to be a marine biologist. And it's like, I just don't understand why it annoys me. Again, like, because I'm not saying that the idea that like an independent woman shouldn't, like, doesn't deserve to like have success in their life. But for me, the point of the ending of the original film where Nani keeps Lilo and she has this support around this partner around her,
Hmm.
these new people
Yeah.
who are part of a family like David and Jumba and Pleakley, is that the suggestion is she has that support to be able to make that dream happen. So I feel like in the live action film, they could have ended it exactly the same way as the original, but they could have had her do that as well. Do you know what I mean?
Right.
Like
Yeah.
the
Okay. I got you.
suggestion for me
Yeah.
is like she didn't have to give up Lilo. She just had to have this new family around her. But then obviously by making Jumba the villain, you're like taking people out and then you're adding
Hmm.
people and it just makes it overcomplicated.
Yeah. Fair
And
enough.
also I wasn't I mean, there was a couple of bits with Stitch that made me really emotional, but not as emotional as the original film. But I hate to say it, but I think we witnessed the TikTokification of Stitch.
Right.
Specifically, the scene where he crashes a wedding and Uptown Funk is playing. I hated that.
That was just as he crash landed, wasn't it? It's
Just as he crash
quite
landed.
early on. Yeah.
Yeah, hated it so much. I just like, what is the point? What is the point? But yeah, oh no, you're gonna have to stop me because I'm just gonna keep.
Well, I'm gonna get you shouting again because we're gonna now move on to flops. And while we are on Disney, we might as well talk about Disney's Snow White.
Yeah, if we really have to,
Well, we can go across it briefly because
of
I think
course.
it's safe to say that this is probably one of their biggest live action flops.
Yeah, and not in
They
more ways than one, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think they've buried it under the rug themselves due to other controversies surrounding its main cast, and I don't want to get into that side of things.
No.
But what went wrong with Snow White?
Should we do what didn't go wrong instead, or?
Okay, yeah, go for it.
No, I can't think of anything that didn't go wrong. I wonder, again, it kind of comes to this thing of like watering down these stories. And obviously, like in terms of Snow White, like the original Snow White doesn't have much kind of nuance to it. It's very clean cut, very I mean, it's probably one of the most simplistic narratives to a Disney film, and I think maybe the opposite is true for this in terms of the fact that they overcomplicate. I suppose the same is true with Lilo and Stitch, where they overcomplicate it to a level that is just like ugh. And I'd argue that with some of the Disney animation films, like especially since like Frozen, or even kind of we discussed this in our podcast about Disney animation, where they kind of evolved in this way where it's like, you know, the Disney princess is kind of gaining this autonomy that they didn't have in previous films, and I think with the Snow White live action, this is what they've tried to do. However, the autonomy that they give her in the film is the most wishy-washy thing that I have ever, like the most weird, like because obviously in the original film, she has no agency over the resolution of the story. She is asleep for the
Mhm.
last like 10, 15 minutes of the film, and she is saved by a man. That is no secret. She is given agency in the resolution of the film in the live action version, but it is she I mean the resolution is that she goes to the castle where the evil queen is, and they're all about to kill her, and then she goes, "You guard over there that is guarding the evil queen. I know your name." And the fact that we know each other means that we should fight against this tyranny. Makes no sense. It makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. So it's like, and this is the thing, these live action films are prime real estate to give to kind of bolster the stories in a way that feels like impactful.
Yeah.
And I am like, yeah, do a Snow White film where Snow White gets some agency in the ending of the film, great. But make that agency something that actually makes sense.
Yeah, make it actually proper rather than just
Yeah.
throwaway lines like that. Yeah.
And then we don't even need to talk about Gal Gadot. That speaks for itself. That's exactly what it says on the tin. Absolute disaster. The
Yeah.
worst Disney live action villain of all time. I mean,
I could have
just
told you that from the even from the trailer. I mean, I'm not a
yeah,
fan myself of Gal Gadot,
just
but
yeah,
yeah.
complete miscast. Complete miscast. She was in a completely different film. Like she wasn't. Do you know what? She wasn't in the blockbuster Disney live action Snow White. She was
Mhm.
in Snow White the pantomime at Blackpool Winter Gardens. Like, you know what I mean?
Aldershot Theatre.
Yeah, literally, just genuinely like people who do a pantomime voluntarily at Christmas because they've got nothing better to do. Yeah, just terrible. Just really, really bad. And then the Uncanny Valley CGI of the dwarves was just another nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
And yeah, it just wasn't great.
Okay, so gonna go a bit of an up, really. To this was Bong Joon-ho's next film after Parasite, and a little bit, I
Mm.
suppose, like Osgood Perkins and his follow up to Longlegs. Mickey 17 was, I think, something that was highly anticipated by lots of people, especially after his Oscar win for Parasite. Not many, it sort of opened the eyes to a wider audience, that film of Bong Joon-ho's
Yeah.
filmography. I mean, you can go back. Some of his older films are incredible to watch.
I think I'd only seen his English language films up until Parasite. I'd seen
Yeah,
Snowpiercer and I'd seen Okja, and I think that was it.
I don't think I'd seen any up until Parasite, and when I saw that, it then told me to, go back and basically watch his whole filmography. I really enjoyed Mickey 17, but
Me too.
the wider audience, I don't think came out for it, which was a big disappointment, really, because I think that film deserved a lot more eyes on it than it got.
Agreed. Yep. No, I agree. I blame David Zaslav. Is that what he's called? No. Wrong name.
Yeah,
Who's the CEO of Warner Bros? Whatever he's called, I don't know.
they've all got similar names.
I don't know if David Zaslav is one of the like DC people. Who knows? Anyway, I blame the CEO of Warner Brothers.
Yeah. Again, I think it was a bit like Disney did. I mean, the marketing leading up to this wasn't great because it got pushed back how many times? Probably about
A
4 or 5 times. It
Yeah.
was meant to be October last year, September, October last year. We
Mm.
kept getting posters, no trailers. But I mean, I really enjoyed Robert Pattinson in his dual role. It seems to be the year of people in
Well, oh yeah, blimey heck, I didn't even think about that. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, literally.
That's the third. That'd be the third one this year.
Mm. Yeah.
I think it's a great blend of dark humor. It's got lots of political themes. Mark Ruffalo is doing a very good
I,
impression of another president. Not that
I
he'll
wonder
ever
who.
admit that, but it's
I think
there.
Toni Collette is also incredible in
Yes,
this film as well. She's
just
just
sort of bouncing off
phenomenal.
bouncing off Mark Ruffalo, aren't they? Sort of work together really well. I mean, it was a bit of a mixture, I think, of Snowpiercer and Okja. Blending those two
Yeah.
kind of themes together. And yeah, I mean, I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really ambitious, and I was quite disappointed that the wider audience didn't really turn out for it. And like you said, I think that is down to it being sort of swept under the rug almost,
Yeah.
which for Bong
I
Joon
think
Ho is a big shame.
Yeah, I don't know whether Warner Bros. Wanted him to kind of compromise on his vision as a director. And if you
Hmm.
know anything about Bong Joon Ho, that's not happening. And yeah, so I think maybe his refusal to compromise on certain aspects of the film probably led to them going, well, we'll release it, but we won't be happy about it, kind of thing. Especially considering that, like, Warner Bros. Seems to be specifically one of the studios that is like curtailing to the current government in America as well. So it seems kind of like quite it's not really a coincidence, it doesn't seem. But I think if anything, what makes me happy is that Bong Joon-ho has a blank check in South Korea for the rest of his
Hmm.
life. He
Yeah,
can make whatever film he blooming wants. And I, for one, am excited for whatever he decides to cook up next.
yeah, definitely.
And
He doesn't
hopefully
just
will.
he doesn't just do anything, does it? He does some things that
No,
he's passionate about, stories that he's passionate about, which is
exactly.
really good to see. It doesn't look like he's going to become one of these directors that comes under the blanket of Warner Brothers or Universal or stuff like he will do his own thing, whether that means he films like it happens like this, that they kind of flop at the box office. Half decent money, but probably not what they spent on it. Let's be honest.
Oh, definitely not. Yeah, I know that his next film is going to be an animation. So I'm very
That'd be
excited for that.
interesting. Yeah, that'd
Yeah,
be really
I
cool.
think he said it's a story that he's always wanted to tell as well. So I am very excited for
Yeah,
that.
I think he's very much a name like Jordan Peele now, where as soon as his name gets attached to something, it's something that will excite me.
Yeah, definitely.
So yeah. So next, another flop, and we're going now to go to the Marvel Cinematic Universe
Yeah.
briefly. Two films have come out this year after we had a year's break, other than Deadpool and Wolverine, which
Mhm.
is kind of in it, but not. I'm glad that Thunderbolts came out and has succeeded, but the one we're going to talk about is the Captain America Brave New World.
Yep.
Ouch.
Oh yeah, boy.
I actually don't know what they were thinking, really.
No, I don't. I am gutted for Anthony Mackie
Hmm.
specifically because I feel as though, I mean, I suppose, I mean, Falcon and the Winter Soldier was even called Falcon and the Winter Soldier because it was like this whole idea of him coming to terms with the fact that he deserved the mantle that Steve Rogers had bestowed upon him. But I just feel as though he has been constantly overshadowed since Endgame by other things, and Brave New World is no different because it is essentially a stealth sequel to The Incredible Hulk for some
Hmm.
reason. And it baffles me. I don't know what Kevin Feige's obsession is with making Captain America films not Captain America films.
No, I see what you mean. What we've had so far, obviously the first one. It's fine,
I
but
guess
you had
it's half and half, isn't it? I mean,
Winter Soldier. It's basically like Bucky Barnes coming in and
yeah,
stealing the show, and then Civil War is
it's
who
the
you're
Iron
going to
Man show.
choose, Iron Man or Captain America. Take your pick.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just, and again, like, yeah, I feel like the optics on it just feel worse when it comes to the fact that, you know, this is meant to be like a really kind of impactful moment. We've got our first kind of black Captain America on
Hmm.
screen, and you know, but here's that guy from that film 15 years ago that you don't remember at all.
And then throw Harrison Ford in there just to
Yeah,
just to get butts on seats.
exactly. Oh, and also this is somehow connected to adamantium being a part of the MCU as well. And it's also like this and this and this, and then we're gonna have a really awful CGI battle at the end of the film that looked like it was filmed on the worst green screen that has ever existed in the entire
Yeah,
history of film.
in about 12 films since I don't know exactly how many, but about 12 films since the Eternals and the big alien has come out of the Pacific. We finally actually get to see him, and it's just a way to basically get Wolverine back into the franchise.
Yeah, absolutely. I actually genuinely thought that was going to be a bigger thing. Like I would have loved for it to be, because I mean they were like, oh yeah, Brave New World's a political thriller. No, it's not. But I would have loved it if it had leaned into that more and kind of like instead of leaning into the Incredible Hulk stuff, leaning into the all of these countries are fighting over this new resource that is like,
Hmm.
you know, it's like the best next best thing since vibranium. And I just would have loved for them to delve into that more, whilst we actually had a focus on Sam Wilson as Captain America, but we just didn't get that, and it
No,
was the 2 hours of my life I'm never going to get back.
no, and it's not. I didn't go and see it in the cinema. Actually, I waited for it to be available at home,
Mm,
and to be honest, I'm kind of glad I didn't see that CGI on the big screen.
it was awful.
Yeah.
Just I my it baffles me because Marvel and Disney clearly have the money to have made that a practical set.
Hmm.
Even if some of it was green screen, they
Yeah.
could have made some blossom trees, man. Not even they, like, I don't know, it just annoys me so much. It's like it's just typical Marvel, which is annoying. But I mean, like you said, on a more positive note, Thunderbolts was great. I really
Thunderbolts.
like
Yeah,
Thunderbolts.
yeah, I enjoyed Thunderbolts, and I hope
And
that's a direction they're now gonna try and push towards a bit more quality rather than big CGI fest.
and I'm not sure this will happen, but I do hope that Anthony Mackie and Sam Wilson, Captain America, will get his moment to shine in
Yeah,
Doomsday slash Secret Wars. It
we can
remains to be
hope.
seen. I am not confident of it because they seemingly look to be making Doomsday into a like nostalgia bait
Yeah.
Fox X-Men thing.
Well, even
We
even
can
at the
see.
end of Thunderbolts, though, in the post-credit scene, they were like, "Captain America is now suing us for the name." It's like
Yeah.
you kind of you're again just throwing him under the bus.
Yeah, literally making him the kind of pseudo villain. In It's
Which,
crazy. It's
yeah.
crazy.
So before we get on to some things we're excited for the rest of the year, I don't think this half of the year would be we should talk about the big box office number, and that is a Minecraft movie.
Yes.
Now, this film has made nearly $1 billion worldwide. Not quite. It's
My God.
$950 million.
Yeah.
And for weeks and weeks and weeks, I think it's all I saw on my social feed. People turned out for this. People took chickens into cinema screens. People were throwing popcorn and drink and madness. I'm waiting for this to come out at home to watch it. I did not want to experience that at the cinema. You did experience it at the cinema,
Yeah.
and you played the
It was fun.
games.
I had played the games previously, yes. No, probably more than I care to admit. Yeah. I mean, it's no surprise the box office pull that this film has had. considering that Minecraft is the most profitable video game in history. Its popularity is, well, it can't be understated, and obviously that's why they've made a film out of it to make more money. And yeah, so I'm genuinely not surprised how successful it's been monetarily.
Mhm.
I'm sure we're going to get 50 sequels to it.
Has it got the potential to break off? Is there potential to break off from this film and create
As in,
sequels? To
oh,
create
sequel.
not
Well,
sequels or
they did a teaser, a
okay.
little mid-credit scene that may kind of hint towards certain developments that will happen in a sequel.
Let's be
I've
honest, we're
no
going to get
idea
a
where they
chicken. We're
go.
going to get a chicken jockey film, aren't we?
Just Chicken Jockey, yeah. Yeah, definitely. I've no idea where they go from this because of the way that they've positioned the world of Minecraft within the narrative. It seems, yeah, but I mean, it's kind of positioned in the narrative in a similar way to the new Jumanji films, and I suppose they made like 3 of those, didn't they?
Yes, yeah. Although no one remembers. Well, I kind of remember the first one. I don't remember anything that happened in the other two, and I'm pretty sure I've watched them both. I think.
Yeah. No, I can. I mean, they might not have even made 3. I think it might just be 2. But either way, it's yeah. So they'll find a way. They'll figure it out. But I don't think I'll be like clambering to watch it.
No, I mean it has done one thing, and it's brought people to cinemas, which is good to see. Um,
Yep, never a bad thing.
I mean, making that sort of money, it looks like Lilo and Stitch is going to creep up to about sort of probably similar by the end of its run. It's at just over
Yep,
600 million at the minute.
that's mad.
You
Honestly,
know,
so crazy.
and I think without films like this, films like Sinners wouldn't make 350 million. They wouldn't get made. So we can
Yeah,
thank films like that for getting those films made. The ones that we do want, the Mickey 17s that get shoved under the rug. Obviously, don't make any more Snow Whites, but yeah, I'm happy to see these movies be made. Whether the quality is great or not, fine. But if it's going to make films that critically we love to see and we like to go and see, then albeit go and do it.
yeah. I mean, it is an unfortunate state of affairs that the cinema
It is.
industry kind of relies on
It does.
these films
Yeah.
to kind of persist and carry on. But if that is how it must be, it is how it must be.
So then, before we go, do you want to give us a couple of films maybe that you are looking forward
Yeah,
to over the next few months?
I can give you 10. No, I there's actually quite a few films that I'm really, really excited for the rest of the year. Top spot is probably taken by Materialists, which is Celine Song's new
Yeah.
film. Adored Past Lives. I think it's one of the most beautifully heartbreaking films of the decade. So very excited to see that with Dakota Johnson, Pedro Pascal, and Chris Evans.
When's that? Is that September,
August. So it comes out
August,
now in
September?
America, but it's August for us in the UK.
Shock.
Us plebeians. I think the same thing happened with Past Lives, to be honest. So I'm going to be like dodging
Yeah.
spoilers on Twitter, left, right, and center. Then on top of that, I would say I don't know if this will come out this year, but it's Die My Love, which is Lynn Ramsey's new film starring Jennifer Lawrence and Robert Pattinson. Loving the Jennifer Lawrence renaissance. Think she's like cracking it out.
Yeah.
So very
Yeah,
excited to
definitely.
see her in that. I'm unironically excited for Downton Abbey, the grand finale. I love Downton Abbey, and the fact that they're actually definitively ending it now is making me incredibly sad. But I'm really excited to see what they do with it.
They've just released a new trailer, haven't they, for that? I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, one of my favorite films of the past few years was a film called After Yang, directed by Cognada.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
the trailer for his new film's just come out that's starring Colin Farrell and Margot Robbie, called A Big, Bold, Beautiful Journey. I haven't
Saw
seen the
this
trailer for
today.
that yet, though. I haven't watched the trailer, but I'm very excited. If it's anything as good as After Yang, then that's great. And then finally, I cannot go without saying that I am incredibly excited for Avatar 3.
Yes, I keep forgetting that this because we had such a big gap between the last. I keep
Yeah.
forgetting that we're only getting one 2 years after the last one.
And then I think we've got to wait 3 years after this one as well, or something.
Yeah, fucking hell, Jim, give us a
Yeah,
little
god damn
sooner.
it. Do something else with your life.
No, I'm actually looking forward to it too. I really enjoyed The Way of the Water.
Loved it.
Definitely due a rewatch for me.
Phenomenal.
And I think he captured everything that the first one did, just the same. The awe was still there, even though,
And it
you know.
looked gorgeous as well.
Oh, yeah, definitely. So I'm going to go a little more mainstream with a couple of my choices actually coming out next week. We're talking about live action. I'm very much looking forward to the How to Train Your Dragon remake. I think the trailers, I was very worried about how Toothless would look and how the dragons will look, but I think the trailers have done it justice. I think he looks great. I don't think he looks, like with the Lion King, they made them real lions and it just lost all emotion. It looks like that emotion's still going to be there. So I'm very much looking forward to that. I hope the soundtrack lives up to the original. Fingers crossed. Another one I'm very much looking forward to is 28 Years Later. I love a zombie movie. I love the first one of this trilogy. The second one was a little bit of a downgrade, but I like the fact that Danny Boyle and Alex Garland are back working together. Alex Garland made one of my favourite films last year, Civil War. So I'm looking forward to them coming back and going back to that zombie franchise. So yeah, I think we will cut it off there unless you've got anything more you want to say about this half of the year.
No, I think I've got everything in there that I wanted to. Yeah. But I'm very excited to see how the rest of the year unfolds.
Yeah, I think the next 3 months it's going to be a big summer. We've got some big releases coming. Obviously, the start of DC again with Superman. We've got Fantastic Four coming to the Marvel Universe. Got a new Jurassic World movie. There's lots of big blockbusters coming out over the next few months, and I think people will show up for that, which will be cool. I'm quietly anticipating the new Jurassic World movie, but I'm not sure how I feel about this trailers so far.
In Gareth Evans we trust.
Yes, we can hope. Anything with dinosaurs, I'm there. Gareth Edwards.
Gareth Edwards. Yeah, I don't know. There's Gareth Evans and Gareth Edwards, so I always get. In Gareth we trust.
Apologise to the Gareths for getting you mixed up.
Sorry, Gareth.
So, like, rate and subscribe to this podcast. You can find more of our work at filmfocusonline.com. Find us on all socials at filmfocusonline and join us next time for more great film discussions. Thank you for listening and goodbye.
Bye.